All right, here's our last example for chapter 4, and it's just a problem that you can use, and we're going to use the quadratic formula because it's not going to be one that's easy to factor, and so that's where our formula comes in handy. So if you want to frame an oil original painted on canvas that measures 50 centimeters by 60 centimeters. Okay, so here's my painting. It's 50 centimeters by 60 centimeters. Okay, before framing, she places the painting on a rectangular mat so that a uniform strip, uniform meaning the width on the outside of the strip, right, this width here, is the same as it is here, okay, and the same here, and the same here, right? And so the area of the mat is twice the area of the painting. We want to know how wide the strip of the exposed mat is to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. And so that's nice because it asks us in the question, how wide is the strip? And so I'm just going to make the width of that strip x, and it's going to be x everywhere. Okay. All right, so that's good because now you can figure out the area of the mat, right? The area of the mat, if you look at the length of it, okay, I guess maybe you could call that the width. It's going to be 50 plus 2x because you have that extra width of x on both sides. Okay, and this width is going to be 60 plus 2x. Okay. And so what I know is that the area of the mat is going to be equal to 60 plus 2x times 50 plus 2x. Okay. So that's good. I'm not going to be able to solve this equation yet, though, because I have two variables here, right? And I can't solve one equation with two variables. Okay. But I do know actually what that area is going to be because I know it's going to be twice the area of my picture. And my picture, obviously the length times the width, 50 times 60. The area of the picture is 3,000. So I actually know that the area of my painting is going to be 6,000. Okay, so if I want to write this, but I want to be able to solve this as an equation, okay? And since I don't have the 0 on one side, it doesn't matter that this is already factored. I'm going to have to expand it and work that 6,000 into it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this in ax squared plus bx plus c form, and then I'm going to see if it's something that I think I can factor. Okay, and if not, we'll see what happens. So I'll use FOIL. The first, 60 times 50, outsides plus 120x. Okay, insides plus 100x, and then plus 4x squared. Okay, so 6,000 equals 3,000 plus 220x plus 4x squared. Okay. Alrighty, I'll subtract. I'm going to subtract 6,000 from both sides. I'm also going to change the order that these are written in. Okay. I want my x squared term, then my x term, and then I'm going to end up with negative 3,000 because I have 3,000 minus 6,000. Okay. I'm going to divide everything by 4 just to simplify it. Okay. 0 divided by 4 is still 0, so I can get rid of it. Okay. Remember, I couldn't do that if I was taking out a factor of x. I'd have to keep it x times whatever I was left with. But I can just get rid of a constant factor. Okay, this is going to be 55x, and this is going to be 750. Okay. Now, does that look like something I can factor? It actually does, but I'm not going to. Okay. It looks like something I can factor, but I don't think it is. Yeah. And if I try to factor it, it's not going to work. Okay, so I could try for a while, and then I would probably get frustrated. Or maybe I would just systematically work through all the possible factors and find out they didn't work. That's okay too. But if you don't see it right away, you can just put it in the quadratic equation. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. If you were actually in my class, I would probably one day just say you're not leaving until you recite this for me from memory. And then I would make you stay here until you could say it to me as you tick it out. Okay, this is really important for you to memorize. So negative 55 plus or minus the square root of 55 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 750. Okay, all over 2 times 1. Okay. Negative 55 plus or minus the square root of 55 squared. 55 squared is 30,025, okay, plus 3,000, okay, all over 2 equals negative 55 plus or minus square root of 6,025 all over 2. Now if that 6,025 turns out to be a perfect square, then you know this is something that you could have factored, right? But it's not. Okay, so negative 55 plus or minus the square, or not the square root of 6,025 is 77.62. Okay, all over 2. Now when you have that plus or minus, if you want, you can just go in your different directions here and say we can have x equals negative 55 plus 57.62 over 2, which is equal to 22.62 over 2, or 11.31 centimeters, right? Or we could say x is equal to negative 55 minus 77.62 all over 2, right? And at some point you might be thinking, hey, wait a sec, I can't have a negative length, okay, all over 2, whoa, which is equal to negative 66.31, okay? And so since you know that x is the width of that strip, we're going to have to reject that root because we're not going to have a negative width on our strip, okay? We're going to have a strip with a width of 11.31 centimeters, okay? How would we check that? Well, let's go back up to our diagram, okay? So if we have our painting with a width of 50 and 11.31 is the width of the strip. So multiply that by 2, you get 22.62. And when you add that to 50, you're going to get 72.62. Okay? When you add it to 60, you're going to get 82.62. Okay, now multiply those two things together. Okay, 72.62 times 82.62, and you will get 5,999.8644 because we rounded, but pretty close to 6,000, which is twice 3,000. So you should be happy with that, right? And that tells you that you've done a good job of finding your answer. Well done. And to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, they said, so I'm going to report it. When I write a sentence, I'm going to say the strip of mat is, or the width of the strip is 11.3 centimeters. Okay, always a good idea to look at the question and see what they ask you for in terms of whether you're rounding it to the tenth or the nearest centimeter or whatever, and answer it the way that they want it.